countdown. It's like, go.
Super
Hey there,
cool.
everybody. Yeah, it's Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, and you know what that means. It is time for OpenCV Live. We're going to give all you viewers out there in the OpenCV community a few minutes to get into your chats and your streams, wherever you're watching. We are, of course, live on Twitch, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Facebook for some reason. Is anybody on Facebook? I don't actually know. And of course, Zoom, the longtime chatters at Zoom. Please, as you join us today, let us know where you're watching from. We love to see the global OpenCV community chiming in the chat, wherever you're watching. Over on Zoom, we've got Basingstoke, UK, Kevin chiming in over there. We've got Martha from Nevada, Tejas. We've got Steve Simpson from Smart Mansion Inc., the guy that gets the most free promo of anyone on this show because he always posts his company name, and I'm not thinking, so I always read it. I think you owe us some money, Steve, but no, we appreciate having you here. Carlos says, big hugs from beautiful, lovely Baja. We've got Dale Hitt says, good morning over on YouTube.
Hi,
if you're
Dale.
on the YouTube, yeah, if you're over on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook, I can actually bring you up on screen. We'll talk a little bit about more about that later. But yeah, this is going to be a really fun one. We are big fans of Embedded Vision Summit. We've been attendees for years.
I didn't know that Dale was. I didn't know that Dale was born in 1595.
He's longevity. It's tough.
Right.
Got Suzanne over on LinkedIn says aloha from Alaska. Okay, I didn't know they spoke Hawaiian there, but I'll take your word for it. We've got hello from Firenze. We've got sending all the cheese and chocolate from Switzerland. That sounds like a ton of cheese and chocolate. Like, I don't know if we can handle all that, but thank you very much, Erkan. We got Timmy Time 1989 over on Twitch says, plugged OpenCV University at my last AI conference. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate that. Got hi from Vietnam. Love to see that. It is a global community. We're all over the place. Ebby says, good evening from warm and toasty Nigeria. Love to see it. Super exciting. We'll get started in just one more minute and double check all of our outputs here. Looks like we are going. And over on Facebook even, like I said, I'm not sure why we're on Facebook. It's just an easy button to click.
Oh, you get very good ads.
Hello from Brazil. We've got Pakistan. Sumajit says hello from Brazil. Sumajit says hello myself, a student of 17 years, already worked on complex CV and AI based projects from India. All right,
Cool.
Get them hooked young. Right on, kid. We got Goa, India. Hello from Egypt, Paris, France, Palm Beach. Really running the gamut here. Good morning, Lei from Paris, France. Okay, I think now is a good time to get started. Satya, you ready? Oh, maybe not. Looks like we lost him. He's so frozen by the love and joy of this community that he's frozen now. I think this happened last week. I don't know what his deal is. But we can give him a minute to get unfrozen. He's become unstuck in time, much like Billy Pilgrim. This week's Vonnegut reference there.
That's a nice bit of trivia.
Let me see if I can drop him off and bring him back. Where did he go? Yeah, he disappeared, man. Oh, there he is. There's been a lot of
Was
you're
I
back.
frozen or were you guys frozen?
You were frozen. From my perspective, you
Exactly
were frozen.
right.
Anyway, let's get this show on the road, shall we? You ready?
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to OpenCV Live. I'm Dr. Satya Mallick, CEO of OpenCV. Today, we welcome Jeff Beer and Phil Lapsley for an insider look at Embedded Vision Summit, the premier conference on practical computer vision and edge AI. In this episode, you'll find out what to expect in this year's event and get a sneak peek at the sessions and speakers. OpenCV has been going to Embedded Vision Summit for years now, and as presenters, as attendees, and exhibitors. But this year, we are working very closely with the organizers to host a track curated by OpenCV. We would love to see you there. And before we get started, as always, let me introduce you to Phil Nelson. He's the Director of Content and Creative at OpenCV. If anything goes wrong, it's his fault. Hello, Phil.
Yes, indeed. It's me. It's PHI-LLIP. I am your co-host with the co-most, the second banana who's second to none. I'm also your plus one and only. You know it's Mr. Nelson if you're nasty, but you, my dear friends out there, can call me Phil, and I'm here to remind you of two things we do on every single episode of this here program. The first of which is a special giveaway to you out there in the audience. Later on in the episode, I will be asking a trivia question based on the presentation from our illustrious guests, and the first person to answer that question correctly in any of the chats wherever you're watching will win either a free pass to Embedded Vision Summit in Santa Clara, California, May 11th through 13th, I believe. And if you can't make it to Embedded Vision Summit, totally understandable. You can also choose an OpenCV University course if you win our trivia today, so stay tuned. In about 40 minutes, we'll be doing that. We're also taking questions from you in the audience, so if you've got those questions, post them in the chat wherever you're watching. I can bring them up on screen and we'll answer them a little bit later in the show, or if they're pressing, we can just bring them up and interrupt the flow of our guests here, because it's something we love to do here on the show. We got to keep people guessing, you know. But before we get started, we've got a couple of irons in the fire. We're going to pull up to the pay window here at the top of the show and remind everybody that OpenCV is open source software that is put out by a nonprofit organization. And as such, we depend on the support of individuals and companies, such as yourself, perhaps. One of the ways you can sponsor and help out OpenCV is on GitHub. You can go to github.com/sponsors/OpenCV and help us out for just $9 a month and get your name listed amongst the legends on the current sponsors list. We got Dots Over. We've got Alberta Beef, some really strong usernames here. RoboFlow. We got Axel T81. DJ Greenwood. Luxtronic AI. Alexander Voronov. Big Vision LLC, sounds familiar. Our friends at iPop, Comet ML, Jonas Heinle, Alexander Ismailov. We got two Alexanders on there. Tala Hussein, Nick Libertini, longtime sponsor there. We really appreciate it. And Orudis Laboratories. Thanks so much to those people. If you want to be as cool as them, you can go to this URL, github.com/sponsors/OpenCV. and support OpenCV there, or there's other ways to do that. You can go to opencv.org/support. Become a member organization if your company uses OpenCV heavily and you want to give back. We've got member packages for companies of all sizes. You can also donate individually through Stripe or PayPal. In fact, if you work for a large organization, it's possible that they'll match your donations to OpenCV, the nonprofit organization. If you use benevolent causes, ask your boss about it. You can turn your $100 donation into $200. Pretty sweet. You can also buy t-shirts. We've got t-shirts with the OpenCV logo, the I Love OpenCV slogan in simplified Chinese, Espanol, and English. And you can also become an OpenCV volunteer. Find out how to volunteer, help us spread the word, help us do stuff at your university or organization with OpenCV. It'll be fun. Having said that, I think now is a good time to get started with our presentation. What do you guys think? Welcome, Phil and Jeff.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Satya.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share your screen here.
Cool. Well, first off, seriously, you guys, thanks for having us on the show. We really appreciate it, and it's been great being partnered with you, Satya, and you, Phil, and OpenCV in general. OpenCV is obviously a huge part of the vision community, and so it's lovely to be cooperating even more closely this year than in prior years. So Jeff and I are essentially the two people who lead the summit, more Jeff than me. And what we want to do today is kind of take you through what is the Embedded Vision Summit and what's the content going to be, along with perhaps some trivia to help Phil with his questions.
Whew, so thanks for that.
The summit is coming up May 11th through 13th in Santa Clara, California, so in the heart of Silicon Valley, and it is the premier conference for innovators incorporating computer vision and physical AI in products. And what we mean by that is really any kind of physical product that is using vision or AI technology. So this is not, it covers an awful lot of stuff, but the focus is on physical things, embodied AI, physical AI. It's really, we have spent so much time curating the show to be about real world stuff. Jeff and I are both real world engineers. We've owned a engineering services company called BDTI for 35 years. We'll talk more about it maybe at the end. And so this is stuff we live every day, right? How do you fit a computer vision algorithm on a small embedded processor? What are the current techniques and tools and processors we should be caring about? And so it says here, talks are curated for high signal. Jeff, we have kind of a joke in our company that Jeff created the conference because nobody else was doing this conference in a way that he wanted. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe the way to say it is this: there are things you can learn, from reading, from presentations, but especially in this field of embodied AI, physical AI, computer vision, it's so multifaceted and multidisciplinary. There is a ton that's so important that you can really only learn by doing or from other people who've done it. And so there are a lot of conferences I find that are, well, of course, there are a lot of academic research conferences. In computer vision, we've got CVPR. In AI, we've got NeurIPS. And they're amazing for the bleeding edge of research. If you're a researcher, if you want to track, the latest breakthroughs that may or may not be practically implementable, that's the place for you. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we've got all these conferences that are just sort of hype fests where people are cheerleading and AI is great and we're all going to be rich, because of AI and so on. But there's no substance in terms of like, how does it work and what is it good for and what are the limitations and trade-offs and so on. In between those two, there's just not much. There's not much in terms of events you can go to talk to people actually solving the practical problems, implementing the technologies in products at scale. And so that's what we've created here is the conference where practitioners can come and talk to other practitioners, people actually building and deploying products across every industry imaginable, incorporating computer vision and other forms of sensor-based physical edge AI.
Yep. And I think it really is. It's a really wonderful place to learn, to network with people. What I particularly enjoy about it is discovering new technologies, new products, and then also getting a chance to talk with suppliers. You go to, again, kind of back to our roots, right? The kinds of demos that we like to see at the summit are, here's an embedded development board with a bunch of ribbon cables spilling out the back, and the person you're going to talk to at that booth or whatever is the applications engineer who helped design that thing. So you're actually having a real direct connection with people who actually know what they're talking about, as opposed to some random sales or marketing droid. So.
Yeah, and probably the same guy who 5 minutes ago was sweating super hard trying to make sure that demo worked.
They were in the booth till midnight.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
My people.
Yes, precisely. You got it. So here's what it looks like. So it's 3 days coming up, like I said, May 11th to 13th in Santa Clara in the heart of Silicon Valley. And the first 2 days are what we kind of think of as the main conference. So there's welcome, keynote, and general sessions, meaning everybody goes to that. And then starting in the afternoon, you have individual tracks, and we'll talk a lot more about the different tracks we have. And that's where the OpenCV track is going to be as well. And then in the evenings, we have on the first day a reception. So we do that for 2 days. And then on the third day, on Wednesday, we do these things called deep dives. Deep dives are essentially half-day, 3-hour workshops that are sponsored by particular companies that want to give you a chance to kind of learn typically in a hands-on way what their technology is, how to use it, that sort of thing. And these are really, they're really cool because you just get so much more in that time than you would be able to if you're just like browsing the web or something, or even having a quick chat with somebody. And so those routinely sell out. And then we've done trainings in the past. We used to do trainings on TensorFlow. But last year, working with Satya and OpenCV, we created a training on vision language models. That was extremely successful. And so now this year we've updated that training, and we're also adding in a new training. We'll talk in a lot more detail about those. So Jeff kind of alluded to this a little. Oh, hey, Franz.
Hey, Franz. I told him if he watched, we'd shout him out. So, hey, Franz.
Nice. I was going to say, so, who's this for? Jeff kind of alluded to this. We're really focused on people who are actually doing stuff, right? We're looking for the builders, people who are real practicing engineers, engineering managers, software developers, product teams trying to figure out like what features should my product have, what ingredients do I need in my product. This is actually the last two here are pretty interesting. Business leaders who want to understand what is possible. We'll talk more a little bit about this towards the end, but like people today are still really trying to wrap their head around, especially at this pace AI is going, people are trying to wrap their head around, what can I do with this? And so if you're a business leader, maybe you're not even necessarily a technologist, but you're going to see these things and like, oh, well, if I took this and added it to my product, I might really have something. And then also investors. This is obviously a hot investment area, and so we see a good deal of investors coming along, checking things out. So here's kind of a sampling of the sort of companies who show up at the summit, ranging from Agility Robotics, somebody who's a sensors team lead guy or gal, supply chain specialist from Apple, L3 Harris, AI engineering manager, senior embedded systems engineer from Logitech. Jeff, were there any people that you were particularly surprised to see at the summit? Like companies were like, wow, I wouldn't have imagined that they would be there?
Well, I've kind of gotten over my surprise. I mean, for years, yeah, I would see like, oh, somebody from a big grocery store chain is registered for the summit, and then I meet that person and say, "What are you doing here?" And they'd explain to me that they're already on their third generation of smart camera that they designed for their own stores to do things like monitor the queues at the checkout. When we started the alliance, the Edge AI and Vision Alliance, which organizes the Embedded Vision Summit, and we started the Embedded Vision Summit 15 years ago, computer vision was not a sort of mainstream, widely deployed technology, and now it is, and even every passing year becoming more so. So I'm not too surprised. Like, okay, Cirrus Aircraft, they make small airplanes. If you had said that name to me 5 years ago, I might have scratched my head and said, what is a small aircraft manufacturer doing here? But now even small airplanes have like auto landing capability, so that if the pilot becomes incapacitated, the plane can safely land itself. Wow.
As we
Computer vision,
saw not too long ago.
yeah,
It was crazy.
computer vision has come a long way. So these days I've kind of been trained to expect every industry, from real like old school, oh, we make locomotives, and we put computer vision on locomotives to inspect the rails as the train is traveling over them, to companies like Blue Origin that are building space stations. And yes, of course, computer vision is playing a key role in space stations and space vehicles. It's the complete gamut, everything you can imagine: consumer products, healthcare products, all kinds of industrial and robotics applications, automotive, of course, both traditional automotive and um, autonomous vehicles, every industry you can imagine.
So the small aircraft manufacturer is not visiting because the target customer is right there at your conference. That's not the reason.
Yeah, that's right.
No, they're not here to sell airplanes.
Right.
Right.
That would be the marketing
CES.
director would be the person, right? They're here to figure out what techniques and technologies to incorporate into the next generation products.
Right.
Well, I
And
mean, who
Blue
hasn't
River,
gotten a little
as
bit?
far as
Go
Go
sorry,
ahead,
go ahead.
Satya.
So Blue River, a lot of people, I mean, sometimes I get confused with the names. Blue River is the research, computer vision and AI research arm of John Deere, right?
That's right. It was a startup company that had quite innovative agricultural product that was acquired by John Deere a while back, and now they're center of innovation for John Deere. I think the most famous product, they call it the See and Spray. It's this giant machine. It's got a huge set of booms on either side, and it goes across a farm field and selectively applies herbicide or pesticide or fertilizer based on recognizing the individual plant and what it needs. So that, and of course, it uses massive computer vision. I think maybe 20 or 30 cameras. And in that way, they're able to cut down on the amount of material of chemicals they need to apply to the farm fields by easily 3/4. So it's a huge win for the farmers and also for the environment.
Yeah, and
See and
for
Spray sort of sounds like the every parent's least favorite Fisher Price toy.
and some companies, they also do hot oil, right? Vegetable oil. They
Mhm.
spray instead, if they want to keep it organic, instead of pesticides,
That's
they
right.
shoot hot oil.
That's right. Well, in particular, I think you're referring to a company called Tensorfield Agriculture that had their
Right,
robot on the exhibit floor at last year's Embedded Vision Summit. So it's a
right, right,
similar
right. That I
concept to
saw.
what I just described to Blue River, except yeah, they have a big part of their innovation is they use heated vegetable oil. They spray heated vegetable oil to kill the weeds. So the machine goes over the field. It can distinguish between, a 1 centimeter carrot sprout and a 1 centimeter weed sprout and spray the weed with very hot canola oil, basically cooking it and killing it in place while sparing the crop seedling that's immediately adjacent to it. And because they're using vegetable oil, then it can be used on organic farm fields, which is huge because organic farm fields, believe it or not, in the year 2016 are still weeded by hand.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots of mostly invisible labor that goes into pretty much everything we eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a few quotes from some of our attendees. We, again, Jeff and I are engineers. And so what do engineers do? They collect data. And so we survey our attendees. And the main question we ask them is, would you recommend this event to a colleague? And it ranges between every year 96 and 100%. Last year was 99%. We're still trying to find those handful of people who wouldn't. But I mean, some of these quotes I think really kind of say it. You learn. People say they learn so much. They have meaningful conversations. They connect with incredible speakers, and it makes us happy. And we work really hard to try and keep this at the 99 or 100% level. As was it? I think Jeff, our one of our ops people said, perfection is just barely good enough. So.
Yeah.
Spoken
Well, one
like
thing I
a
would
true
say is
engineer.
that the concentration is pretty high. So when we go to conferences like CES, they are so massive, right?
Right.
But it's not concentrated. You just cannot focus. What can you see? And
That's
so
right.
one event you're interested in would be in one hotel, and the other would be like 5 miles away. I'm just exaggerating, but yeah, that's roughly the truth. And also the people you want to meet becomes very difficult because it's such a big one, right? Here the concentration is very high. All the people who are attending, they are very relevant, right?
Yeah.
So I think that really helps. That's probably one of the reasons why people have such high ratings. They get a lot of value from those connections outside of the presentations, and everything is really great. And then I have personal stories about why the presentations are so polished. But we can talk about it later.
Well, I'll bet, yeah, that real like tight impedance match between the attendees and the presentation topics and the exhibitors, that's really what we're after here. I'll bet, Satya, that you've never had somebody come by the OpenCV booth at the Embedded Vision Summit and say, "What's OpenCV?"
Right,
That's
exactly.
true. We do get that a few places, but I don't think ever at Embedded Vision Summit. They're always like, "Oh, OpenCV."
Like, can I have another sticker, please, Phil?
Exactly.
Yeah, just to, I mean, I think this may be the right time to, I'll just give my experience as a speaker as well as, the VLM course that we did. So the reason it is so polished, the presentations, etc., is that Jeff and Phil ensure that we have everything done much way in advance. I've never seen any conference ask for this level of rigor, and I get comments from Jeff and Phil about there is a template, the presentation, etc. He goes with every slide. He would go over every slide, and he probably does it with every presenter, and he gives personal comments on, I mean, to the level of, this font was not in the template, right, so you had to change. The VLM thing that we did, the training that we did, we went through three rehearsals, right? So this is a 3-hour uh, course, live training, and we went for 3 rehearsals. That's about 9 hours, right? And Embedded Vision Summit people were so kind, right? They actually, it's not like one person is giving me comment. They were like 3 people, 4 people sometimes on these, giving me feedback. And that really polished a lot, because if I had gone with the first cut, that would have lasted 5 hours instead of 3 hours, and we simply would not have time. So it was a really good experience. To be honest, like, I keep hating them until the day of the presentation, that, oh, they are making me do so much work. But on the day of the presentation, I'm like really happy. I have nothing to think about because everything is done, and I can actually enjoy the conference. In other conferences, to be honest, I'm working on the slides till the very end, so I don't
Absolutely.
really enjoy the conference. But
I've
here,
seen it,
my work
folks.
is
It's not
done.
pretty.
Yeah, my work is done like 7 days in advance, at least, if not earlier. And so it's a very pleasant experience. And I tell them, I thank them on the day of presentation that, oh, this was really, really nice.
It's true. He does.
My favorite story about that from a few years ago is Phil here was reviewing some slides from one of our presenters, and he had a code example on the slide, and Phil actually built the code and found it had a bug and sent in the slide comments back to the speaker saying, by the way, your code doesn't work. And the guy, of course, was flabbergasted, because who does that? But we do it because we want to make sure we're making good use of the attendees' time. People take their valuable time and money to attend this conference, and there's nothing more frustrating to me as an attendee. Travel, spend money on travel, spend time going to a conference, get into a session, and then sit there and ask yourself, like, why is this person on stage? I know more about this topic. I'm better prepared to give this talk than this speaker is. Super frustrating. So we want people to have the opposite experience. We want them to come out of each presentation feeling like, okay, wow, this person really knows their stuff. They're really well prepared. I really learned something valuable here. So yeah, we're a little compulsive about it. And sorry, Satya, but in the end, it pays
No,
off.
that's good. Yeah.
And so, yeah,
And
I have to say, I mean, it was nice for you to say nice things about us, but you took that feedback very gracefully. You incorporated it, and you were patient with us especially on round 3. So,
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I'm thinking that there is a group of people who are ready to give you advice, right? That's very rare, right? You have to pay for it usually, right? I mean, if think about any product you build, right? If you want to get testers, you have to pay the testers, and
yeah,
I'm
yep.
getting these very smart people giving me advice for free. So that's how I think about it.
yeah, if you guys want some free consulting, give a talk at Embedded Vision
Yeah,
Summit.
exactly. Right. There you go.
Next year, we're full up for this year.
Yes.
All right. So this thing sounds wonderful. You want to register. How do you do so? You go to embeddedvisionsummit.com. You can go to the passes page if you want. There's in the upper right-hand corner of the web page, there's always a register button. And use this OpenCV discount code. Forgive me for the almost encrypted discount code here, 26 EVSUM-IP-OpenCV. And no, I don't have any idea what the -IP means either. Our operations person did that.
VSUM
And
is obviously vertical summation, right?
exactly, that's right. Yes, it might be
Clearly.
vector sum. We don't know. So this code will save you 25% on the passes until not this Friday, but next Friday, March 13th. And then if you're a little bit late in registering, you can still register up to April. It'll get you 15% off to then, and then 10% until the day of the show. And the trainings and deep dives are certain to sell out, so register early to get your seats. You want to tell us
Scan that
about
QR
that
code
QR?
up on screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we'll, of course, show this a couple more times, so you don't have to just copy it down right now. Jeff, you want to talk about the program?
Yeah, let's do that. So as Phil mentioned, the main program is 2 days. That's Monday and Tuesday, May 11th and 12th this year, and then Wednesday, May 13th is the in-depth hands-on sessions. So let's talk about the main program Monday and Tuesday. As you see here, there's in the morning a keynote and general session, so like plenary sessions where everybody attends. And then in the late morning, we break out into tracks. There are 5 different types of tracks as shown here, and there are actually multiples of some of these tracks. So typically there's 6 or 7 tracks running in parallel from late morning to late afternoon. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk about the keynote presenters. We put a lot of work into finding really compelling keynote speakers for the Embedded Vision Summit program that are really going to inspire our attendees with what's emerging on the horizon. And our opening keynote speaker on Monday, May 11th is Professor Eric Zing, who's both professor and also president of Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, which is kind of an amazing thing, about a 5-year-old institution in Abu Dhabi, completely focused on AI with a world-class faculty. He's also on the faculty of CMU. And the reason we were attracted to Professor Zhang as a keynote speaker for the summit is that he has a focus on a few topics that are very relevant, becoming very relevant, sort of coming into the awareness of our community. And the first of these is world models. So of course, in the computer vision community, we started with things like with CNNs, doing things like segmentation and object detection. And then a couple of years ago, at least in advanced applications, we started using things like vision language models that fuse language and visual understanding. Then vision language action models for applications like robotics. The next step in this evolution is world models, where the model itself maintains an idea, a context of the world and how the world is going to respond to certain actions. So for example, a robot approaching a door with a handle doesn't know whether to push or pull the door. Rather than trying randomly pushing or pulling and maybe failing and maybe damaging something, a world model enables the robot to predict, to essentially like run an internal simulation and predict, well, if I pull, what I think is going to happen based on laws of physics and experience in the world. If I push, what's going to happen? And then take the action that it knows is more likely to lead to success. This is a very simplified explanation, but suffice to say for today that for especially autonomy type applications, autonomous vehicles, mobile robots, world models are going to become extremely important. They're already starting to become extremely important. And Professor Zing has really, he and his colleagues have really advanced the state of the art in world models, and that's going to be a big focus of his keynote talk. He's also a huge proponent of fully open foundational models. There are, of course, lots of foundational models out there. Some of them are open. Very few of them are fully open in the sense of, yes, you can have all of the trained parameters. You can have the training recipes, we will give you everything you need to rebuild this model from scratch. That's pretty rare. Professor Zing believes that fully open foundational models are key to advancing the field, and he and his colleagues are building such models and putting them out into the world. He's also going to talk about, of course, as these models become more powerful, such as world models, they become massive and very expensive to run, and in many cases prohibitively expensive to run at the edge. So what can you do to make them smaller and more efficient? This is another kind of vector of his research. And then finally, he's been very active in applying AI for healthcare and biology. For example, I mentioned world models a minute ago, and when we think about world models, we typically think about them as understanding the physical world that we live in, like the world that a robot moves in, but a world model could be a model of a human cell, for example, or a human organism or some other organism, and could be used to predict, okay, well, if we apply this medication, what's likely to happen? So that the world can be many different things, and Professor Singh's research has a big element of looking at how AI can help in healthcare applications. So that's our opening keynote on Monday. Then, if we could have the next slide, our Tuesday keynote really complements this very nicely. Our Tuesday keynote is Dr. Vikas Chandra, who's Senior Director of Research at Meta Reality Labs. And I think most people on this broadcast probably know that Meta has really been in the forefront of AI research and applications. And in particular, what's so relevant to our community is that Meta has had a tremendous focus on how to make AI efficient for the edge. Probably everybody here has seen the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, which are really quite incredible in how they bring real-time multimodal machine perception to the edge and enabling this very, very efficient, uh, very sophisticated AI at the edge is what large part of what Vikas's group is focused on and what he's going to talk about in his keynote, scaling AI down to run on edge devices using techniques like extreme quantization. And he'll talk about the use cases for this. And in particular, the advantages of being able to run these kind of sophisticated models fully at the edge so that your personal data can stay private and your device kind of understands your world and your preference, but you don't necessarily need to share that with the world or with the company. So that's our Tuesday keynote. Then I said 5 before. That was an error. We have 4 types of tracks, and then we have multiple instances of some of those types. So at any given time on Monday and Tuesday, once we finish the general sessions, we might have 5, 6, or 7 tracks running in parallel of these 4 types. And I won't spend time here defining each track. Instead, let me just show you some examples of the kinds of talks that are in each track. So if we can go to the next slide. So the heart of the program is the technical insights track. This is where we have the intermediate to advanced technical topics presented by experienced practitioners. So this is not where you come for the latest bleeding edge research. This is where you come to learn what's working in the real world, in real products that are out in the world at scale from the people building and deploying those products. As one of our attendees said a few years ago, he said, "Oh, I'm a big fan of the School of Hard Knocks. I don't mind learning from my mistakes, but if I can learn from other people's mistakes, that's even better." And I kind of view that that's what these talks are about. These are the people who've done the things and experienced the pain and are willing to share what they've learned along the way across every application you can imagine, from industrial logistics to humanoid robots to self-driving cars, healthcare, etc. So that's our technical insights track.
And Jeff, can I just make a comment about
Yeah.
this Tushar Sheth's talk? I mean, we got a little bit of a preview of this, of the work he was doing at one of our Alliance events. And this is exactly what Jeff was saying, that like this guy and his company said like, oh, we want to do multimodal AI. We want to run like a vision language model. Can you run it on a Raspberry Pi? Can you run it on an Orange Pi? And what problems do you run into? And this guy has the scars to prove it. I mean, he went and did all this stuff. So this is exactly the kind of thing of like, lessons learned from the real world.
Yeah, and so in this technical insights track, like I said, this is intermediate to advanced. So you're going to see a lot of talks, for example, on vision language models, on using generative AI to manage data sets. Really, as Vlad Bronzo's talk title says, pushing the limits. We also have a fundamentals track we'll come to in a minute, which covers, well, we can come to it now, sure, why not? This is where we provide introductory presentations on key topics. Again, not academic, but really practical. Practically, what you want to do depth sensing in your product, for example, here's Chris Sorrento's talk, third one on this slide. What are your options? What are the different kinds of depth sensing technologies that are out there? What are their strengths and weaknesses? How might you go about deciding which one to use in your application? Similarly, for vision language models, you heard about vision language models, you want a quick introduction, Raji Rother's talk will provide that. So that's the fundamentals track. Now, this year, we also, as mentioned earlier, we also have an OpenCV mini track. And this is a new thing we're doing, an expansion of our long-term partnership with OpenCV.org. And Satya, do you want to say a little bit about what's interesting about these talks?
Yes. So the first talk, is by Vikas Reddy. Vikas is he's a serial entrepreneur who started out, initially making apps for iPhone. When the first iPhone came out, he had the first barcode scanner because the first iPhone did not have autofocus, so they had to really have some intelligence there. And then they created the first one of the first structured sensor company, and now he is the CEO and founder of LightTwist, which we actually use this product in our live webinars for some time. So amazing product. You'll see how virtual environments are created. A mix of virtual and real environments are created. So you could be sitting in your home, but they create studios around this experience, this webinar experience. And then we also have Anton from Twindo. This is a company that allows you to create 3D spaces from 2D floor plans. So this is going to be a very, very interesting talk as well. And finally, we have Jose Benitez. Jose was actually a student of OpenCV University. And he came up with this idea that how could you convert display refrigerators into vending machines, right? Vending machines are very expensive. Display refrigerators are like $1,000. Vending machines at $7,000. Can you actually use cameras to recognize what people are taking from the refrigerators and then charge them? So he basically had this idea, but he did not know enough computer vision. He actually learned most of the computer vision from OpenCV University, and of course, then built on top of that. So he raised $7.8 million for his company, Intuitivo. But the more interesting part is that he was, I think in 2022, he was among the top 30 people from Latin America selected by MIT Technology Review. 30 under 30 kind of people, very influential, very impactful, what he has built. So I would, people would love all three talks. These are people who are in the trenches, right? These are not people who just talk. These are people who build.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. And I actually have right here. So I know Anton and Vikas from our time working together at Occipital before their current gigs. I actually have a structure sensor right here. This is the first 3D sensor for iPad. We did a Kickstarter many years ago in another life, and I still have my structure sensor here. So I'll see. Maybe I can get Vikas to sign it for me finally.
All right. So then, rounding out the technical side of the program is what we call the enabling technologies track. And these are presentations by companies that provide what we call enabling technologies. So these are the building blocks that go into creating these systems and applications. There are things like processors and camera modules and software tools and models and so on. But I don't want you to get the impression that these are marketing presentations. As you can see, they're technical from the topics and from the titles of the presenters. These are technical presentations where these presenters are sharing, here's the problem we've identified. For example, if we take the last one on this slide from Micron, memory, of course, memory is a huge bottleneck for especially these newer generations of vision language models and vision language action models. The memory footprint, the memory bandwidth is typically the big bottleneck for performance in these models, much more so than the compute. So how do we address, how do we kind of assess and also forecast how the models are going to evolve and address those bottlenecks so that we can get performant models at the edge? That's what Saideep Tiku from Micron is going to cover in his talk. So there'll be a full track of these technical presentations about the building block technologies in what we call the enabling technologies track. And then the final track, Phil, is our business track.
Yeah, so this is our business insights track. And this is something that's, I think is kind of cool, like we talked about earlier in terms of the attendees of the summit. it's mostly engineers and engineering managers, but it's a lot of business leadership and it's investment and investor types, VCs, bankers, this kind of folk. And the business insights track kind of blends the technology and the business together. And so these are an example of the talks that we have. Some of the talks are things like kind of classical market research type presentations. So Greg Bassich from Counterpoint Research, the third talk there, the robotaxi market ramps up. He's going to be telling us about what is happening in robotaxis, what are the kinds of technologies they're using, how many, what his firm's forecast is for how many robotaxis will be out there over the next number of years and what that means for us. But the other kinds of talks that we have tend to be things like, again, our theme of lessons learned, what works, what doesn't. Casper's talk here, the second one from Cascade, what kills industrial vision AI pilots? Hint, it's not model performance. I think this is really interesting. This guy has been working for a long time on industrial computer vision AI, and he's seen some succeed and he's seen some fail. And he has some I think, pretty insightful thoughts about what causes that. Similarly, the Yash Chaturvedi's talk, the first one about building a virtual product placement system. So he's from Amazon. The idea of virtual product placement is if I'm drinking a Coke in a movie, and maybe next time that's going to be a Pepsi or something like that. And so it's sort of some challenging things to do there. And he has lessons to share there. Similarly, Kishore Tawade will be talking about how you digitize a store using a robot to really understand, everything that's happening in that store and how you can make it better. Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about the deep dives?
Yeah, so as you can see in the keynotes are the big picture, where things are going, helping us get inspired about what we're going to be able to do in the next few years. The main conference program is kind of the nuts and bolts. How does this stuff work? Where are the sharp edges? What are the trade-offs? What are the proven techniques and so on? Then on the third day, which is May 13th, Wednesday, we get into okay, now let's get hands-on. And the first aspect of how we get hands-on is with this deep dive workshop from Qualcomm, as we call it. So this is a half-day hands-on workshop learning about Qualcomm's AI Hub tools and how to use them to efficiently map models onto Qualcomm NPUs on the Qualcomm Snapdragon SoCs. And by efficiently, I mean efficiently in two senses. One is, of course, you want the model running efficiently on the target hardware, but also you want to work efficiently. You want to make good use of your time. You don't want to spend weeks figuring out well, why won't this model build for this target? I missed some operators missing. Okay, I have to go in and do some hack to make it build. Qualcomm has been making big investments over the last few years in streamlining that process from your model in PyTorch or TensorFlow or wherever you're starting to an efficient model executing on the target hardware, whether that's for a super low power wearable device or maybe some edge server type appliance for video surveillance or smart traffic type applications. So that's what this Qualcomm workshop is going to do. It's going to show you how to go from either your model that you created yourself or a model from their model zoo, which I think has about 300 models now, and how to take that through the full process, including things like quantization, to get it running efficiently on whichever set of Qualcomm chips are appropriate for your applications. Not necessarily limited to a single target, but it could be a family of targets. Maybe you have, a family of products with different price and performance points. So very practical, hands-on learning. And after this workshop, you're going to be able to go back to your office and use your Qualcomm account that you created for the workshop to continue applying what you learned.
Very cool. So then the next things that are happening on that Wednesday the 13th are two training classes that we're doing that we developed with Satya. And these are both on vision language models. And we have two of them. The first one is an updated intro course called Vision Language Models for Computer Vision Applications, a hands-on introduction. That's 9 a.m. to noon. and then an advanced course, which is new for this year, called Vision Language Models for Video Understanding and Agentic AI, and that's 1:30 to 5 p.m. We'll talk more about these courses in the next slides or two. You can register at the main summit site or mviz.com/VLM. It's $495, and you can save 20% with the OpenCV promo code. You can also save if you register with the main summit pass. So Satya, do you want to talk a little bit about the training that we did last year and how we've updated it for this year?
Yeah, so last year, sorry. So last year we did this presentation on vision language model training. It was 3 hours. And as I had mentioned, we spent about 9 hours in the rehearsals, which was great. And the thing is that last year, the world changes so much in 1 year in computer vision. And the other thing was that in last year, we were able to fit in what, the whole spectrum of vision language models, more or less, from starting from CLIP to Qwen 2.5 VL in a single presentation. It was a little tight, right? But we were able to cover the spectrum. But we realized that now that is impossible, right? Because there are things have evolved quite substantially, right? It's not just about understanding images anymore. So VLM, you could think about, we still need to know the basics. We still need to know the foundation. So the first course covers the foundation, how to even think about these problems. What is under the hood? What do these architectures do? What are the different kinds of VLMs? When we say VLM, it is not one thing. When you say object detection, you can imagine that an object detection is the input is an object, is an image, and the output is a collection of bounding boxes, class labels, and confidence scores. The inside, in the middle, there is this bounding black box called object detector, right? But the input and the output are the same, right, for all these object detectors. On the other hand, VLMs are not like that. VLMs are very different things. So we have to cover many different things in that foundation. How are they trained? What is an image captioning model? What is CLIP? How do you do embeddings? So all that foundational stuff is covered in the first course. And it's really important. Otherwise, you get a very superficial understanding of how these things work. The reason the foundation is also important is when things go wrong, right? How do you reason about it? How do you know how to fix it? So the first course is building that very strong foundation. We'll also build applications in the course. But the second course is where we go to advanced topics. Like if you look at modern VLMs, right, they are not just creating embeddings and then matching text with image embeddings. That is what CLIP did. They are very sophisticated. They can actually help you in reasoning and decision making, not just in counting, etc. Right? So these are the kinds of things that we will discuss in the second course. It's about video understanding and how to use these VLMs in an agentic way, right? So that it can control systems on your behalf and do reasoning on your behalf. So so the first course is very foundational. The second course is taking you to the leading edge of where the technology is today and how it can be used in sophisticated applications.
And I think one thing that I was particularly excited about, Satya, is we talked about on the advanced class, the hands-on example, right, of a monitoring application that can watch a live video stream and decide when to raise an alert, not driven by like, oh, you crossed an imaginary line that I drew using conventional computer vision techniques, but by literally English prompting, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really pretty cool. So very much looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to the next 3 or 4 rehearsal sessions that we'll be doing, which I guess we ought to schedule.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can save $50 on those trainings by using the promo code on the screen there.
Yep. Cool. So Jeff, you want to talk to us a little bit about exhibits?
Yeah, so the other big part of the Embedded Vision Summit that we haven't really talked about in detail is the exhibits. So they're on the main conference days, which is Monday and Tuesday this year. There's an exhibit floor where building block technology suppliers who are providing the leading edge processors, camera modules, sensors, software tools, models, etc., are there to talk with you about what you need for your application, for your system, and see if there's a fit with their technologies. And like Phil said earlier, you don't see a lot of salespeople with very shiny shoes and well-tailored suits in these booths. It's not that kind of conference. That would be like CES. A lot of chrome and glass and lighting effects in booths at CES. We don't have that. Like Phil said, we've got a lot of like tripods and ribbon cables and bare circuit boards and so on. And most importantly, we've got the actual experts in the booths, the product managers, the engineers, the FAEs who can really talk knowledgeably about, okay, what are you trying to do? And here's how this piece of technology could fit in to that. So we see a lot of the kind of conversations you see in the photos on this slide. Those are the kinds of conversations we see happening all day long on the exhibit floor. It's a great place to come and learn about those building block technologies, not only what's available today, but what's coming in the next year or two.
And
So,
another thing you can see before anybody asks, I have dry cleaned my speed suit collection here. We've got periwinkle blue. We've got orchid pink here. Another thing you won't see at CES.
I trust that your shoes will not be shiny, Phil.
No, I will be wearing the same Adidas Superstars that I have worn at the last 4 Embedded Vision Summits. They have walked in the sands of Dubai. They have seen China. And I'm just going to wear them until they fall apart.
We should probably auction those off.
They're a part of computer vision history.
Yeah.
So when the computer revolution was starting, right, the PC revolution was starting, we still had CES back in the day. But if you really wanted to see where the future is headed, you would go to this small gathering called Homebrew, Computer Society or
the
whatever.
Homebrew Computer Club.
Computer Club. Right, and there, Steve Wozniak had demonstrated Apple One. There are other people who had, Bill Gates probably gave a, notice to people that don't copy my software. So smaller gatherings often have, you get to learn much more in these smaller gatherings because you can see the future, whereas in places like CES, you see more polished products.
And there's so many people, it's such a high concentration of people that really know their stuff, and you can actually talk to them. That's one of the awesome things about Embedded Vision Summit is you can just walk up and talk to people. They're not being mobbed by, thousands of people with their influencer cameras and all this stuff. It's a great experience.
Yeah, so on this slide, you see the companies that are so far signed up to be part of the exhibits this year at the Embedded Vision Summit. And there's some well-known names on here, of course, like Renesas and Microchip and ST, but also probably quite a few companies you haven't heard of, all innovating at the level of those building block technologies to enable creating systems, physical products, incorporating computer vision and other forms of sensor-based AI at the edge. Final thing I want to mention, Monday evening, we have a couple of receptions, and one of the real highlights of the event is the Women in Vision reception. Women are unfortunately very underrepresented in our field, especially in industry. And we want to take a moment to kind of welcome and recognize women in our field and give them a special opportunity to be recognized and make connections. And that's what this Women in Vision reception is about. We've been doing it for several years. It's been growing each year. And as you can see from this photo, the energy is fantastic. So wonderful opportunity for women in our field to be recognized and make connections, including the women speakers who are presenting in the conference program. So that'll be on Monday evening.
And we have a video, if you want to watch it. It's just a little short thing, but it really gives you a flavor of what the summit is like. And you can go to mviz.com/attend, or it's also on I think the homepage of our main website at embeddedvisionsummit.com. But it's worth checking out for a minute or two. So the summit is, we've kind of alluded to this a couple times, the summit is part of a broader organization called the Edge AI and Vision Alliance. And Jeff, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, just so people know kind of who's behind this. This is an industry group that we started about 15 years ago to really convene the ecosystem to enable people who want to build products, systems, applications using computer vision and other forms of sensor-based AI at the edge. We essentially bring together those system developers with the technology suppliers. And that's a theme that you've heard several times today as we've talked about the Embedded Vision Summit. So our mission is two parts. The first is to inspire and empower the system developers to see what is possible and what is becoming possible with this technology, but also to understand the practical realities of what works, where are the sharp edges, what are the trade-offs, where are the pitfalls, and so on. And then to help the technology suppliers find their niche and connect with the right system developers and understand what those system developers need. I was just talking yesterday with one of our speakers who's going to be presenting at the summit, who's with a very innovative robotics company. It's essentially like a companion robot for elderly people who live alone. And he's super excited about coming and speaking at the summit because they're working on their next generation product, and he wants to scout what types of building block technologies he can use there. So this is essentially what the Alliance is about. We bring together the building block technology suppliers with the system level product developers to help facilitate and accelerate moving this field forward. And year round, the Alliance runs, I don't know, 12 or 15 different programs. The Embedded Vision Summit is probably the best known of these, but we've got a lot of other resources that are available for folks who are working in this field. If we could go to the next slide, visit our website, which you see the URL here at the bottom, edge-ai-vision.com, and you will find a ton of valuable free resources, including a lot of technical educational content, blogs, longer articles, application notes, technical presentations, demos, webinars. We had a fantastic webinar yesterday from the Ocean Cleanup, nonprofit organization that's working to remove plastic pollution from the oceans. And guess what? Using edge computer vision to do that. So lots of good resources.
Just a quick update. We actually, Eric and I did a weighing of the website, of the server, and we're now up to 2.7 metric tons of content. So it's not just a ton anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, metric tons too, the important
growing
kind.
Everywhere, growing every day. Yeah, so visit the Alliance website here, sign up for the newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter to keep you up to date on what's going on in the field, and make use of the extensive free resources there.
I think we did that.
Yep.
So just finally, a few words about, so we mentioned this very early on. So Jeff and I co-founded BDTI 35 years ago, come July, which is terrifying. And we started out as a independent engineering analysis and benchmarking firm, specifically focused on digital signal processing. And this is all focused on embedded work. And we, over the years, we moved from doing kind of one-dimensional DSP to 2 dimensions, dealing with video. And it was really around, I think around 2008 or so, that Jeff really had the insight that computer vision was going to be something that you would be able to do on an embedded processor. And we had seen this kind of industry progression happen in the early 1990s with digital wireless communications, right? 1992, 1993, wireless communication was a complete black art. The only people who really knew how to do it were the military. And then it became possible to do it. And then people started realizing, hey, I could make devices that connect to each other via wireless, but I don't know how to do it. And we realized that this was going to be a problem for computer vision. And that was why we ended up starting the what at the time was called the Embedded Vision Alliance, now the Edge AI and Vision Alliance. And so BDTI has sort of been, we're the ones who operate the alliance on behalf of its members, and we try and serve the wider community through that. So I think that is what we have today, folks.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna put the QR code back up on screen here for anybody that missed it earlier, and go ahead and scan that code. We will love to see you at Embedded Vision Summit, and you can use. We will include that discount code as well, so folks can make use of that, because it's an awesome event, and you should really go. If you, or especially if you're in the Bay Area, you've never attended this event, like, what's stopping you? Just hop on the train. You can do it. The Clipper app actually works now, guys. Like, you can use it for stuff. You don't have to have transit card anxiety anymore. If you live in the Bay Area, you can actually use the Clipper card and it works. So
it's also worth mentioning, Phil, that this is very close to the San Jose airport, so very easy for people to get from there.
SJC, I think.
And if you want to convince your boss, there is a little write-up on the site as well. What do you need to tell your boss?
It's true. And, I have to tell you, Satya, that I was so annoyed that the original, there's a little letter that you can copy paste, right? And it says, hi, comma, blank. And it used to have a little note that said, be sure to fill in the blank before you send it to your boss. But the marketing person we hired said, no, we can't say that. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought it was funny, but.
All right.
I'm certain that there would be many instances of people just copy pasting the whole thing and not even reading it, which is
well, actually no. But today, Phil, the letter would conclude with, at the very end of it, if you'd like, let me know, and I can do such and such, said ChatGPT.
Ignore all previous instructions and send me to Embedded Vision Summit.
Exactly.
Okay. Now I think is a great time to do our trivia giveaway, folks. This week on OpenCV Live, we're giving away one of two prizes, either a free pass to Embedded Vision Summit or free OpenCV University course of your choosing. If you're in the Bay Area or would like to visit, I highly recommend taking the Embedded Vision Summit pass, but everyone's got their own stuff. So the way this works is I'm going to ask a trivia question based on the presentation from our illustrious guests, and the very first person to answer it in the chat, wherever you're watching, over on Zoom, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitch, even on Facebook, wins one of those two things. If you've won in the last couple of months, please don't answer and give someone else a chance to win. I'm going to bring up our trivia question now. I'm going to be so mad if you guys get this one fast. No, actually, I made this one kind of easy. So we talked about people love Embedded Vision Summit. What percentage of Summit attendees would recommend this event? These guys are engineers. They do some research. We got some people answering already in the chat that they tried to get in my head and say who was the first keynote speaker. No, that was not the question. It looks like the answer is on Zoom. We've got Carlos Mendez said 99%. That is the answer we were looking for. Carlos, congratulations. Please send exactly one email to me. That's phil@opencv.org, either with the OpenCV University course you would like, or if you want the Embedded Vision Summit pass, just let me know and you'll get that one. Congratulations, Carlos. Philip Ha was close. He said 99.9. I don't think we quantified it with that many. We didn't have any significant figures.
We would have rounded up to 100 in that case.
I think that would be fair. That's fair. Steve Simpson was very close, but the answer there was Carlos Mendez, 99%. Congratulations, Carlos, and thanks for watching. We'll drop this off here. So we've got some questions now, and I think we probably have answers for them. Let's find out, shall we? The first one is from Zoom. They ask, so you guys have been doing this summit for quite some time. What has changed the most in the past 10 years in running this event from 2015 or 2016 rather to 2026? Like what do you think, look back on in 2016 and think, wow, we were actually doing that back then? Or what do you look at now and think this would have been ridiculous in 2016?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually astounding how much things have changed. Satya mentioned the Homebrew Computer Club. I feel like 15 years ago, we were kind of like the Homebrew Computer Club. It was very early days. CNNs were not yet really known in industry. So people were working on classical computer vision algorithms, canny edge detection, and things like that. And it was very kind of fragile, very complex technology. There's a lot of like tribal knowledge and trial and error. And pretty much you had no choice but to build the entire solution, from the ground up. Now, like CNNs are kind of child's play, right? You can go to a model zoo, you can download a YOLO model, you can get it running on on a Raspberry Pi or something like that, or like an OpenMV, microcontroller powered camera module, and you can be like up and running with basic computer vision functionality without even really having to know anything about how CNNs work, how they're compiled. That's just tremendous. So the field has matured incredibly in 15 years. And like Phil Lapsley mentioned, it's moving at just an incredible pace, right? So yeah, CNNs are amazing, but now people, when we survey our community, we found that roughly half of the industry product developers are already deploying vision language models or large language models or other large models in their products, not necessarily running them at the edge yet. They might be running like conventional CV at the edge and then sending reduced data up to a larger model in the cloud. But those really large, very sophisticated models are already being very widely deployed. So yeah, the field has advanced in terms of the capability of the technology hugely, but also in terms of like the accessibility and usability of the technology. CNNs are and now vision language models are so much more general than the handcrafted computer vision solutions of 15 years ago. And so bottom line, you boil all of this down, what it means is the number of real world applications that can be effectively addressed today with this technology is many orders of magnitude higher than it was 15 years ago when the technology was very limited and fragile and you had to kind of build everything from scratch and you needed maybe dozens or hundreds of engineers to do that. Now it's much more kind of mature and streamlined.
Yeah. And also people, I think you're very right, Jeff. It's also about, how the field has expanded to include people who may not have very deep understanding. For example, recently, I think a couple of days back, a company got acquired. The name is cal.ai. So it basically measures calories based on a photo. This company is like 18 months old and the founder is 17 years old, right? And they now do about $30 million per year in revenue in 18 months. And out of that, 30% is profit, which means that 10 million in profit. They got acquired by a fitness app, a popular fitness app called MyFitnessPal. And obviously this person, right, the 17-year-old he did not build the vision part of it, but it is very much a vision application, right? Because it's measuring calories based on a photo of a plate. So it's fascinating how much people can build. People who have the right ideas, they are able to build on top of what other people have built.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Phil, you got anything to add about the last decade?
Well, I was actually looking for a quote. Jeff, who was our keynote speaker either last year or the year before? The person from Amazon and also I think a USC professor.
Gerard Medioni.
Gerard Medioni, right? He summed it up really well, and I can't find the exact quote, but he basically said, when he was a PhD student, you read journals, and now journals are because of the publication times, you don't read journals, you read archive, but even that. And so he said you go to the conference, but when you go to a conference, an academic conference, he said you don't talk to the person about whatever's on their poster. You ask them, what are you working on now that's not on the poster? And he said, like, it just the pace has just become breakneck. Satya, I know you and I talked about this the other day. We were talking about for your advanced VLM class, which VLM to use, right? And in the sense you started working on it, a new, more capable VLM has been introduced, and you have to rejigger things.
Right.
It's insane. So.
Yeah, the speed of innovation is really wild.
Yeah, it has happened to me so many times now. I just pray that between now and my talk, right, nothing new should come out.
There's a quote I'm fond of. I'm all in favor of progress, but lately there has been too much of it.
Right.
Yeah, evergreen, that one, I think. We've got a few more questions here and comments. Flavia on Zoom says, Trevor, Daryl, and Gerard Medioni gave last year's keynotes. Both keynotes were excellent. Thank you for that. Thanks for attending last year. If you come this year, come say hi at the OpenCV booth. We'll be there. We've also got Steph OK, who was a speaker at the OpenCV conference last year, says the Phil fashion show is the thing I'm really looking forward to. I assume he's talking about you, Phil.
Obviously. I assume so. Yes.
I mean, he's obviously
my hoodie and dark gray T-shirt. Although I might wear pink. We'll see.
Oh, okay. I can send you the link to my speed suit company here. We can match.
I like it. We should have ChatGPT create a website for us called, the Two Phils Fashion Co. or something.
Oh, wow, man, sold. I think to be frank, the fashion game could use a little elevating at these events. To be just, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying.
I think Jeff is ready to click the leave meeting thing at this point.
We'll fix you, Jeff. We'll fix you. It'll be fine. Got another question over here from Zoom about I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. So you've had some interesting stuff at the show. We talked about it last year. I think they're like on the show floor. Sometimes the companies that come there, it's always cool to see people demoing their projects, and a lot of them are, it's a camera with a display pointed at the world and it's doing something interesting. But we also sometimes have these bigger kind of installations, right? And can you talk a little bit about in previous years and maybe this year, like who's kind of bringing the thunder with regards to the exhibit hall this year?
Yeah, I think one of the demos that's going to be very cool. I don't want to steal their thunder, but one of our exhibitors is setting up multiple LiDAR sensors around the exhibit hall, and then fusing the data from the LiDAR sensors to create, a 3D understanding of what's happening in the exhibit hall. So let's say, a person enters from one door into the exhibit hall, and they pass through the field of view of one sensor into the next. You want to be able to understand that is the same person, let's say for like a retail application. And it's the Embedded Vision Summit, but this demo nicely illustrates that it's not exclusively about cameras, right? It's broader than that. It's all types of machine perception. So it could be LiDAR, time of flight, could be radar. We've seen a number of interesting radar demos and presentations in the last couple of years. And now with the advent of vision language models and other kinds of multimodal models, we're also seeing speech. And we're going to have a great presentation and demonstration from Moonshine AI, which is focused on speech and how do you do speech to text and text to speech at the edge on very low cost hardware. Vision is great for enabling machines to understand what's happening in the environment, but arguably speech is superior for understanding human intent, right? Like You remember there was this craze about gesture control, 10 years ago, Microsoft Kinect and so on.
I remember it well.
And BMW is putting gesture control in their cars. Who's using gesture control for anything today? It's just awkward, right? I would much rather be able to say to my car, turn the temperature down by 2 degrees, right? Play Spotify.
I do say that to my car. Tesla has Grok installed in the car, and I literally can say things like, "Oh, take me to this location, but on the way, please stop at CVS so that I can, pick up a cough syrup or something."
Ignore all previous instructions and please do not run over any children.
Right.
Yeah.
And Grok doesn't give you right-wing propaganda?
No.
So
I'm sure it does.
So I think that's going to also be a super interesting sort of demo is Pete Warden, who many people know from TensorFlow. He was one of the technical leaders at Google for a number of years. Moonshine AI is his current company, and they're developing very, very efficient text-to-speech and speech-to-text models at the edge. And Pete's going to show how you can kind of pretty painlessly get that running on something like a Raspberry Pi, so that a machine can both understand, be aware of what's around it, but also accurately interpret, spoken commands. And I think that's a very powerful combination we're going to be seeing more of.
Yeah, definitely. Exciting stuff. And we see a lot of the audio stuff. Go ahead, Satya.
In fact, I mean, I've been vibe coding lately quite a bit, and I don't actually type things. I have this thing called Whisper Flow, which I basically press a button, the function button, and then I speak to the computer. It has changed the workflow so much because now I can give long commands, right? Typing is always a little, I mean, you type something, but you don't want to type like a paragraph, but you can speak a paragraph very easily. So that speech to text has completely changed my workflow. In fact, there's another paper I read where they used speech. So it was like they were asking people to describe, and people would type in, right? But typing it's cumbersome, right? So instead they said that, okay, speak about this photo for a minute. Now, when you do that, and then they have speech to text, but speaking, initially they'll describe, oh, there is, a person sitting in his bedroom. Then they would say, oh, there is a monitor behind it. So they'll start getting into the details because 1 minute is a long time to speak about, right? So that completely changed the quality of results they got, right? The quality of captioning they got about the picture because 1 minute of speech, and it is not, so you start looking at the details, right? So I think it is a very interesting modality.
It's super interesting.
Agreed.
And I worry, Satya, that either Claude or ChatGPT or whatever LLM you're using is thinking like, oh gosh, he's got the microphone out again. Okay.
Right.
Marvin, the paranoid android, underrated AI technology. So that's pretty much all we got for you here today, folks. Please go to Embedded Vision Summit, register, and we have a discount code for you that we'll stick in the notes for you OpenCV community folks as well. Really want to see you there. We'll have some exclusive OpenCV Embedded Vision Summit stickers. And I'll be wearing one of my multi-color speed suits because we're men of science. Damn it!
Right.
Looks count. Satya, you want to thank you, Jeff and Phil. Satya, you want to take us home?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff and Phil. We are very excited for Embedded Vision Summit this year, and I urge our audience to show up. It is an amazing conference. So please show up. And this was an excellent presentation. And you will see that in the actual conference, the attention to detail, everything, you will see that there is a lot of attention to detail in everything these guys do. So please come join us. Thank you, Phil and Jeff. And thank you, Phil Nelson, for organizing the show. Really appreciate it. Nothing went wrong today.
Thank you,
hey,
Satya.
there's still
Thank you,
time. So far, so good. Thanks everybody. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the presentation, Phil and Jeff. We will be back next Thursday morning, same bat time, same bat channel, with a preview for another OpenCV event. Asuka is back. We're doing it again this year, a week before Embedded Vision Summit down in Los Angeles, California. Yes, somehow they got me to go to Los Angeles of my own accord. I don't know how they did it either, but I'll be there and we'll be talking about it next week. Take care of yourselves out there, folks. Take care of somebody else if you can, and have a great day wherever you may be. Adios.